I'm so glad that you guys could come back and visit with us again. We started this panel a little over a year ago, and it was because of what happened at Stoneman Douglas in Parkland. And that was, as I said, just a little over a year ago. So we think a lot of time has passed since then, but really no time has passed at all because we're recording this today. It's Wednesday, May 8th. And just yesterday, we had a situation where there was a kid in a school in Colorado, not far from Columbine, and one student is dead. What did you guys think when you heard that news? Ryan, you can answer first.
I knew you were going to bring it up because I saw it and I woke up this morning and saw it trending on my Twitter feed, and I'd like to say shock, but it wasn't shocking. It was just disappointing.
That's a sad answer, though, isn't it?
It's a very sad answer, 100%.
Yeah. James?
I think it's a terrible thing that shouldn't really happen, and I think no matter what you believe politically, you should still try to find a way to compromise somewhere in the middle to stop it without shutting each other down.
Yeah. But were you surprised, or?
Yes. It's still such a, as bad as it sounds, it's still rare enough that it doesn't not shock me when it happens. Because it's not like I wake up and go, oh, another school shooting. It's, oh, look at that. It happened again. That's terrible. It's still not a thing that I feel is a day-to-day fearful thing.
Sure. Right. Xander?
When I heard this morning, it's just, oh, just like on surprise, like, okay, another one. And it's kind of like not at the point where it's like you're not expecting it to happen every day, but it's not like, okay, another one happened. It's not the biggest event even happening right now.
Cameron?
I feel like personally I don't think it was too surprising, to be honest, which is disappointing because there's a lot of things that we could be doing against it, but it just seems like nothing is changing. Even with like the students that are trying to like fight against it and like they do their rallies, but it's like nobody's listening to us. But that's something that we have to go through personally. And having gone through something like that twice myself, like it's terrifying. And to think that it just keeps happening to other students all over, it hurts.
Yeah. Now clarify when you say you've gone through something like that twice.
Well, with the student at Greenwood Lakes, my 8th grade year, that took his life overnight, we had to come to school and know that that happened there and with those memorials there. And then also before spring break this year, that happened again at Lake Mary High School where the girl took her life during school. And it was just panic and fear, and everybody was just worried about that.
Yeah. Brian?
Same as everyone else, really not surprised. What surprised me the most, honestly, I was saddened, but what surprised me the most was the media coverage. I almost feel like there was very little coverage on it compared to incidents in the past, almost like it wasn't just me, it's kind of society as a whole that we're no longer surprised by these kinds of incidents because they happen enough now that we've moved past the shock of it.
Yeah, that's a pretty sad commentary also, and because one person died as opposed to maybe 17 or even more than that, I feel like you guys might think that that has an impact on how it's covered as well. Something else that I noticed too, there was the shooting that happened at the University of North Carolina in Charlotte. That was about a week ago, where someone came on campus and started shooting, and they said other students started to interfere. And with the situation that happened in Colorado, they're calling certain students heroes because they tried to jump in, and even though it's a fellow student they know, they tried to stop him, and then they also tried to help the students who were wounded. Is that something you guys have been taught to do, told to do, or would do if that scenario should arise in your schools? Like, for example, if someone's on the ground bleeding and there's still an active shooting situation going on, have you guys been given any instruction on that, or would you just kind of, Brian, I'll start with you.
At least in my school, we haven't been instructed to do that. We've always been instructed to hide and stay quiet. I like to think I would intervene. I would be someone that tried to help the students around me. I don't know how I'd react in that kind of situation. I've been thankful enough to have never been put in that scenario, but I like to think I would be someone who was able to step forward and help protect my peers.
Yeah, Cameron?
I feel like I'd probably have like the same reaction. Like I'd want to be one of the people that would try to help, but we haven't been taught how to do anything about that. It's just been make sure that you have something blocking the door, all the lights are off, and you're behind. In our school, at least now, we have like designated lines across the across each classroom of where, if someone's looking through the window in the door, where they can see and where they can't. So we all have to be behind that line that's marked from ceiling to floor. So it's like that's what we've been taught, is just where to be and how to stay safe. We haven't been taught of what needs to happen afterwards.
Yeah, taught to do anything like to help people. We haven't really been taught anything like that. It's pretty much just if like a code red or something happens, you just pretty much get in the corner, sit there and wait. Pretty much that's all we're told to do.
Yeah, yeah. But do you feel like, I'm sure these kids were probably told to do the same thing, but something in them saw like a classmate they knew on the ground bleeding and they just jumped into action. Do you feel like you would still just kind of do what they tell you to do? Because there is no wrong answer. That's the right thing to do. No one would blame you for not helping.
I would like to say I would, but I really don't know unless that kind of situation happened.
Yeah, yeah.
Same thing as them. We don't really train to do anything except, get behind the line and hide under the counters or the cabinets and wait there until they tell you to get out. And I like to think I would, for the sole purpose of I've always been raised to help people when they're in need and always to put people before yourself. However, it's like they said, one of those situations where I just don't know for a fact I'd be able to do that, but I still like to think I would.
Well, James, I feel like you would too, because I just getting to know you over the past year, I seem like you would be the kind of person who would try and help. Do you know first aid or?
No, I was certified by FEMA for like all kinds of varieties of things, but not actually certified in specific first aid.
Yeah. Ryan, how about you?
Well, first I just want to make this comment that I'm from North Carolina originally.
Yeah.
I'm from Charlotte. So like when that event happened, I was born and raised there. It was something that particularly me and my family felt very special. And like thinking about UNC just really hit us more than anything else because that's our home.
Sure.
Speaking about what I've been taught in school, again, it's like getting behind, turning the lights off, moving your book bags. It's almost terrifying for school to be like, if someone is down on the ground bleeding, here's what you need. It's terrifying that the reality is that it would get that far rather than just being holed up in an area.
Yeah.
To the last part, what I would do, I think it's very much echoing everyone else of that my heart would tell me to, or as I'm sitting here right now speaking to you, what I would want to do, who I'd want to help, and how I want to be involved. But it'd be hard to be within the moment and predicting how I would act in that moment.
Of course, yeah. We all would like to think that I'm going to be a person who jumps in and helps, but you don't know if there are bullets flying or whatever could be happening, and you have to take precautions for yourself.
Yeah.
And you said something interesting. You said it would be terrifying if you were taught, if they're saying, hey, if someone's bleeding next to you, this is what you
100%.
do. So that leads me into my next question. Do you guys feel in the year that we've been talking and right after Stoneman Douglas happened, do you feel safer in your schools? Do you feel the same about your schools? How is that going? James, I'll start with you.
I still feel safe. Nothing's really changed for me in the sense of school fear. I still feel like there's things in order and things in place to keep us safe, and none of this has really changed my opinion on that at all.
Okay. And Xander, how about you?
I pretty much feel the exact same, because even though like, people say that new things are happening, like metal detector, like wands being used on students, I haven't seen that happen at all. I've heard people say it's happened, but just like in terms of actually seeing things for change, there's really nothing.
So when you say you feel the exact same, what is your feeling?
The feeling of, well, I'm not going to school every day hoping for it or expecting it. There's still that feeling in there that something could happen. So it is still scared, but you try not to let that affect you.
Sure, you have to go on with your day, right? Yeah, Cameron?
I feel like for me personally, because of what has happened at my school, that in the beginning of the year they did have a lot of new security things that were going on where they had, they've introduced a new desk at the front where everybody has to check in. You're not allowed to just go, even if you're a previous student, you're not allowed to just go into a teacher's classroom like you were And I feel like that has helped, but the fact that that there was a student that was still able to get a gun on campus is still scary, even with everything that we have. And they've been introducing more and more security measures on campuses. All of the doors on campus are locked because it is an open campus. So students aren't allowed to go through side doors. You have to come through the one door that's open on the entire campus. And so it should help, but there's still more precautions that we could be taking.
I would say I feel safe in my school. I mean, obviously with all the stuff that happens, there is like a feeling of uneasiness that I get after the events that happened in Denver. I definitely, took a little, and the next day when I went to school, even for AP testing, because they gather all of us in one big room for that. I had like a split-second feeling of, feel a little uneasy here. But on the whole, I would say I feel safe in school. I feel like my school has done things. They've instituted new procedures and started enforcing more strongly older ones to keep us safe. So I generally feel safe when I go to school.
Yeah. And you basically answered the next question I was going to talk about. No, it's good. Lawmakers passed a controversial school safety bill allowing schools to arm teachers, and we're still waiting for Governor Ron DeSantis to actually sign that. And a lot of districts, including Orange, Marion, and Seminole, have said that they have no plans to arm teachers. And I know you guys are already talking about seeing different things happening in your schools. Tell me a little more about what you're actually seeing that is different. I know, Cameron, you talked about everyone has to funnel in through this one entrance, and that's fairly new for where you are.
Yeah, I personally don't think that we should be introducing more guns when guns are the issue. I feel like there should be more pull on personal ownings of guns and how they're kept to make sure that they're not able to get on campus. They're not in the hands of people that have bad tendencies. But I feel like with my school, at least, there's going to be a lot of things that change over the summer. I know that because there's a lot of things that they can't do while students are there. And students are still anxious about coming into classrooms. We have the bell that goes off, and when they announced what had happened that day on campus, all the teachers and all of the students still get uneasy when that bell goes off for announcements to come on. Teachers are like, they need to change that bell because it makes everyone nervous. We're afraid something like that's going to happen again because it's just that same noise over
That
and
same
over.
sound, it's like a constant reminder.
They're not getting over it. And so it's
gosh.
just kind of uneasy for everybody on campus sometimes. I feel like now it's kind of faded off, but I feel like it shouldn't have. We still need to keep that talk going so that we can probably change something for the better with
Sure.
school districts.
Sure. And Brian, how do you feel about the fact that, some school districts are saying, okay, yeah, we would allow that to happen in our schools?
When you say that, I'm assuming you refer to arming teachers.
Yes.
I believe in the past I've made my stance clear that I'm very much against arming teachers. I've spoken with several of my teachers who are themselves against the principle. I don't actually think I've spoken with a single teacher that supports the idea of arming themselves, not just teachers in general, but specifically themselves. I don't think that's a stable way to approach the issue, and I also just think that admitting that we need guns in schools is kind of maybe philosophically losing the battle of keeping violence out of schools, and it's in a way welcoming school violence into the curriculum in a way. Now that we have to make it a part of the function of the school, that teachers have to have weapons and things like that, I feel like it's kind of just admitting, okay, you have made yourself a permanent fixture of our culture and we can't get rid of you now. We can't go back to like a pre-Columbine or Parkland day. We're accepting you as a part of our culture now.
Yeah. So is your opposition purely philosophical, where you don't want that to happen in the class, or do you feel like something worse could happen because now, okay, instead of someone even bringing a gun on campus, maybe that gun the gun that is legally on campus gets into the wrong hands?
Oh, definitely both. Teachers are incredibly overworked from what I've observed, and I just don't think adding in that kind of firepower is a good thing. I don't think that. I think we would definitely have an incident occur somewhere if you were to introduce guns into schools like that.
Okay. Ryan, how about you?
I definitely agree with Brian in terms of the normalization of it, that school shootings are not normal and they shouldn't be normalized on any level of life. And I think that introducing that normalized, well, we're gonna predict this to happen. So because we're predicting this to happen, a school shooting is so normal in our society, we're gonna create rules against having it happen rather than stopping school shootings from happening. That sense of normalization. But I do think there are a lot of questions that are still in the air. Do I expect my English teacher to get in a shootout with assailant? Are they going to be shooting back and forth in a classroom full of students?
Is it one of your fellow students?
Is it one of my fellow students? Particularly in my English room, I've talked to my teacher about this. It's just like concrete and like fiberglass. Where's the bullets going? There's a lot of question I feel like haven't been completely thought through and don't have answers that could prove to be problematic.
James, how do you feel about that?
I would be for it. And I think that because I've spoken to teachers, and several teachers, including my grandmother, as I said last time, we talked about this, would be willing to arm themselves and even step in the way if necessary. And I'm also not worried because I don't think guns are the problem. I think that they are possibly the solution to it. Because if you have an assailant with a gun shooting at you and you can't do anything about it, you're sitting ducks. So they know you're not going to be able to do anything, so they'll come at you with the intention of shooting you knowing you can't defend yourself. But if you have a teacher who's able to fire back, you have at least something to stop it or slow them down until somebody can get there. And I think it was shown well in Colorado, considering that the person that stopped them after only one person, as bad as that sounds, only one person was killed, was an armed guard who was able to have a weapon there. And I think that speaks volumes about having guns on campus, because the ones that didn't had 17, 20 people killed, and it took a long time for somebody with a gun to get there to stop it. And so I think it's definitely a conversation we should be open to.
Yeah, so you'd like to see the governor sign.
I think that would be, it's a change, and I think it's a good one. I think with that we have at least something to be able to defend ourselves better than, as I heard, throwing books or hiding under a desk and waiting for him to get there. I mean, if you have something to fire back, he will either not try in the first place or not get anything close to what's been able to be done. And with guns not being the problem, if you go to countries where they take guns away completely, they're able to kill dozens of people with knives and cars. And so I don't think guns are the problem. I think guns aren't the problem. I think they're possibly the solution.
Okay. And Xander, I don't think you had a chance to answer this one.
No, but I'm not for arming teachers in any way. Arming the teachers, trying to solve the problem with more guns, pretty much just seems like they're giving up on trying to fight the real problem. Just putting more guns into the system. Why would you do that when there are much better faucets you could do to try and actually correct the problem, like with mental health and many other issues?
Yeah.
So it really just seems like, why are we going to put more guns that could add more safety risks? Anything could happen with a gun in the classroom, essentially, so you don't know what's going to go on.
Yeah, and what I find interesting is that I can see all of you when I ask the question and when you all answer, and while there are 5 of you there, 4 of you think guns are not the answer, but when James, the one person who thinks guns might be a solution, when he talked about, you're throwing books, you're all like, you kind of could see that scenario, like a book isn't going to defend someone against a gun. So in a way, even though you don't really agree with that, but that was one point where almost at the same time, everyone was like kind of nodding an acknowledgement, like, well, that's a valid point. Not, there's no right and no wrong answer, but I just thought that was interesting, because I know you guys do have different points of view, but you can't see each other like I can see all of you. All right, so I want to ask you about, I know the first time I asked the question if all of you had been a part, or any of you have been a part of a lockdown in school, and I think most of you have been a part of that. Is that right?
Yeah.
And same. Have you had any this school year so far?
No.
Cameron, you have?
Mm-hmm.
So when that happens, and it turns out to be, say, a false alarm or nothing's happening, right? And say it's earlier in the day, you still have to go about your regular day, and maybe you have an exam that day or you're preparing for something special. How does that work?
So there have been a couple false alarms at our school, because people won't just or ignorant and like pulling the fire alarm. With code reds, I don't recall us having a false alarm on a code red, but there have been many occasions with fire alarms where people will just pull the fire alarm and it's just like we're all assuming, oh, they had a test that they had to take and they didn't want to take it, so it gets everybody out of school. But for like a false code red, you do have to still go go through your day, depending on how long or if they actually knew something happened or not. The principal will come over the intercom and announce like, we're not sure what has happened yet. We're going to check where like it was called or what had happened, and if there's anything, we'll let you all know. But during that time, we're all still sitting in our classrooms. We all have to wait in our room.
Not knowing what's really going on.
Yeah, not knowing what's going on. So normally it's just students texting, rumors flying, and then like the principal will come back over if it was a false alarm and say, oh, okay, it was a false alarm, nothing happened. Sometimes they'll switch up the bell schedule, but nothing too extreme happens. Or the principal sometimes will give a little speech saying like, this is why you shouldn't be doing this, for the people that pull the fire alarm unintentionally.
Sure.
But yeah, we don't have like false code reds.
Have you had any code reds though?
Yeah, we had the code red when the girl took her life at our school. But it was scary because you hear on the news like how the code red was pulled, or the code red was called, and it was in between classes, and so everybody was out in between classes. And you think, oh yeah, well that could happen here, but what are the odds? We spend 6 minutes out in the hallway in between classes. What are the odds that it happens? And it happened. And everybody's outside. Teachers are screaming for students to get in classrooms. We're pushing shelves in front of rooms. It's like all happens so quick. And then you sit there for like 30, 45 minutes and you're wondering, okay, well, what's going on?
Yeah, that's
You
gotta
don't
seem like
know.
an eternity, right?
Yeah, it just feels like forever. And it's in pitch black. So your imagination just runs wild.
Sure.
And everybody's panicking and we're trying to figure out what's going on and
Yeah.
nobody's speaking. It's eerie.
How many of you have been a part of a code red, have had code reds? Yeah, all of you. And only one, or is it, like how common is it? How many times have you, James, how many times have you experienced?
We've had a drill one time. That's about the closest I've been able to have to get to that. And it's only been once this year. And it took 15 minutes and everybody was done. Everything just went according to what they wanted it to be. And so I've never really had to face that as an issue
Yeah.
so far, and I'm kind of glad I don't.
Sure. Ryan, how about you?
It was last year, two times, where we had code red lockdown. It wasn't a drill, so it was a lot of chaos in terms of what was going on, a lot of fear. But this year, it's just monthly drills. You kind of know when they're happening. Teachers know when they're happening. Teachers will say, hey, I know we're doing a test, but we're going to have a drill sometime this period. It happens, and then we go back to what we were doing.
Okay. And are you're just able to go on with the rest of your day as planned, or
For drills, for me, yeah.
once if you know
I
it's
am.
a drill? Yeah.
I think it's the preparation of it, of saying we're going to have a drill. This isn't real. Even when they come on the intercom, it's saying we're having a drill. So you know that there's not a real threat. I think if it was unannounced, random, and just like no one was prepared for it, it would cause a lot more unease.
Yeah, and I feel like we had a situation where it was not announced and there was some complications with that, which is why now they make sure that you all know this is just a drill, so you don't panic, because you just, the times we live in, you never know if it's real or not. All right, so we call this segment Generation Under Fire, and it started because of what happened at Stoneman, because guns were involved, right? But I feel like you guys are under fire for so many other things, and one of the things that comes to mind is social media. And because, you know, when I was growing up, we did not have cell phones at the ready. And so if I were bullied, it would only happen at school, right? Now there's the possibility it's 24/7, because you guys are attached to, you know, and you have to be, you're attached to your phones, your computers. How bad is it when it comes to bullying and things like that, and how do you deal with it? Xander, do you have any issues?
me personally,
Yeah.
I can't really speak for anyone else, but I don't really see it that often, like as a continual thing. Like even online, I may not just be in the right place for that to happen, but I really just don't come into contact with anything like that.
Oh, lucky you. Cameron, how about you?
I feel like personally, I don't experience too much bullying. I did earlier on, like middle school and elementary school, but that's just like that's just little kids just fighting with each other.
Yeah, but those little kids grow with you and they go to the school,
yeah,
you know, and
yeah.
those are the same kids.
But I feel like personally, I haven't had any experience with that. I feel like a lot with social media now, there's a big push against bullying and like body positivity and all of that. And I see that all the time on my Instagram, and I love having that in my feed because it puts you in a good place. And so I always try to surround myself with good people so that I don't have to experience that. And it's nice being able to like follow the certain people and allow
Yeah.
certain people to follow you so that
Sure.
you know what audience you have and what audience you want to have. So it's nice personally not knowing that, like I haven't experienced any of that, but it also is scary for the people that do, and that the people that you don't know experience any of that, and then out of the blue, something extreme happens, and then you realize they were going through something, but they weren't saying anything. So
Yeah.
I feel like it's a big push to just make mental health like more easy to talk about, so that for the people that are going through something like that, they can speak about it.
Are you aware of students? Can you tell when it's happening to a particular student? I know they probably try to keep it very private because, one, it's embarrassing and also intimidating. But some students, you just know that they are struggling and going through a tough time. Can you guys recognize a student who's being bullied or maybe taunted? And is there anything you try to do to stop that or would do?
The people that I surround myself with, I choose the people I surround myself with specifically. So I wouldn't say that I have seen or know people that bully or have been bullied, or not in life, but like currently in high school at this time, because I want to surround myself with people who make me feel good and who treat others with kindness and being nice. But I think that's a sense of privilege of that I don't necessarily know what's going on with other people, and so I can't speak necessarily to what I've seen or who I know is being taught. However, I'm a strong believer in what you feel on the inside, you kind of show on the outside, even though we talk about fake smiles and stuff like that. I think that when someone's like insecure or going through something or something at home, a lot of times it kind of comes out on them. You can see it. So I wouldn't say it's invisible, but I also think my privilege doesn't have me see it next to me all the time.
Yeah, it's funny that you call it a privilege because you all are busy 24 hours a day. I mean, you've scheduled yourselves to an inch of everything in your lives, and I feel like that's part of the reason that many of you don't experience what some of your peers might be experiencing because you're so busy. But I feel like you're not too busy to notice someone else. Is there a way that your school teaches you how to handle if you see it, witness it, or know someone being bullied? Do they talk about that in school, how you could maybe help a classmate?
There are hotlines that you can report incidents to. I think Speak Out is one of them. You can go on and anonymously report it. Usually it's just, make sure you treat your peers with kindness.
Yeah.
But one of the problems, or I think in Central Florida with noticing it, is that I don't know the statistics for your schools, but I know Ryan Windermere is over 3,000 students.
Yeah.
DP is over 4,000 students. And even though I think you can notice when someone's being cyberbullied, it's just so hard to. When there's so many students, it is so hard to notice when someone is going through something. So that makes it difficult kind of to pick out who needs help, who needs someone to be there for them.
Yeah, but would you feel comfortable? I don't know if you necessarily address the student, but just maybe intervening on that student's behalf, like letting someone in authority, a teacher or someone, know something.
I feel like for me at least, I personally like to intervene because I feel like being on the same age level, we're kind of all going through the same thing. So it's kind of, I feel like being on a more personal level, just because of age, helps a lot. But sometimes like people won't speak to anyone who's older, which is weird because you feel like they have more wisdom, they'll be able to help more. But I feel like just because we're all going through the same thing at the same time, it just gives more of a reassurance that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, that there is, like, it's not just like depression. You're going to get through it, and if you need help, you have to speak to somebody else. But hearing it from someone that's your age that could also be going through it is a lot more persuading to say
Sure.
than trying to hear it from someone else. But like I personally have helped a couple people, like trying to get through some stuff, just trying to push them through, and whether it's boyfriend or family issues, like you just got to be able to know that there's hope and that it's not something to be afraid of. It's not something to shy away from. Everybody deals with it at some point.
Yeah. Ryan?
I just thought it was, yes, I'm a very like vocal person. I think there was a long period of time where I didn't speak up for myself. So once I got through high school, I was like, oh wait, I need to speak up for myself. And that's caused me in these last couple of years to just become vocal. And my surroundings, if someone bumps into me, I'm like, yo, you just bumped into me. So if I were to see something, 100% I'd say something.
Yeah.
We're shutting that down. That's not happening. That kind of idea of just like, people who bully people are insecure. People who are insecure hurt people. And so if you're doing something to hurt someone else because of what's going on with you, today, when I'm here, that's not the person you're going to hurt or talk to. That's just the way that I think I live my life.
I mean, but it takes a lot of dedication to do what you guys are doing. And I know we get you here at different times of the day, so you have to beat traffic, and you probably had schoolwork today. And this has been a year-long process, right? So why do you guys think, or why did you think it was so important that each time we asked you to come, you answered that call and showed up in a big way? Brian, I'll start with you.
I just think I have a voice, and it's very important for me to use that voice and speak up for what I believe in, because there's no one else that's going to do it for me. This is my life. It's the only life that I'm going to live, and when it's over, it's going to be me standing in front of the God that I believe in, and I have to answer for my actions. And so I may as well make sure that I commit actions that I'm proud of, and I'm proud that I am able to stand up and speak out for something that I believe in, for something that I think is good for my siblings, my friends, and my peers. I'm proud that I have a voice, and I'm so grateful that I'm able to use it.
Yeah. Cameron, how about you?
There are just a lot of people that are too afraid to come up and speak like what we've done. But I feel like we all kind of have the same ideology. We all want to be able to go through school and feel safe and feel comfortable in our surroundings. And having all of these issues just isn't something that we want to have to be a part of. But unfortunately, we've had to be a part of it. So for the people that are afraid or like worried that this could be happening to them, I'd like to be a voice for them on what change needs to happen from our standpoint at least. Because we hear about it from everybody who's in Congress or in the government now, and they're all older, but they're not in high school. They're not in college. They're way long gone. So being able to hear it from someone who's going through it, who's actually in high school, who's had something like that experience, it's just, we need to be able to speak up. We need to be heard, and they're not wanting to listen. So this is a platform where we can be heard.
Sure. Xander, how about you?
Everyone here, even if you have a different opinion, the same opinion, it's giving a platform for everyone to be open and talk about what they believe in. No one else knows really what it is right now to be where we are. And everyone up in the government, they're not 15, 16, 17, or 18. They got to be older than that to be where they are right now. So really, it's just a great platform to get our views out there and show people how we feel and how we want to move forward in the world.
Yeah. James, why the year-long commitment?
I felt that it was very important to give a voice to people with my beliefs, because when it comes to school, social media, and all the types of platforms for communication these days, all I personally see is people with the same opinions as I am being slandered, attacked, both physically and verbally. They've been treated very poorly, and I think that it's a way to get my opinion out, and so people can actually hear me out start to finish. Because I've had people call what I believe in disgusting. I've had people call me disgusting. And I think a conversation is a two-sided coin, and nothing's going to change unless we hear both sides. And I felt it was I felt kind of called to do this to show that there are people my age that believe this way. And when it comes to the age in Congress, I think it's very important to have older people because they've not only lived through it, they've also outgrown the childish. Because no matter how responsible we think we are, we're going to make childish mistakes. We're going to think with our hearts, not our heads, and make decisions we probably shouldn't be making. And so I think it's smart to have the wise and the older also kind of give us a helping hand up to start us off. And so I think that it's just important to be able to hear both sides of the argument on this.
Well, I hope, do you feel like you've been treated fairly here? I hope you
Absolutely.
do. Yeah, okay,
Absolutely.
great. And I'm sorry that people called you terrible things just because of what you
It's
believe.
all right. It
That's-
just proves my point.
Yeah.
It just gets me where I need to go.
Yeah. Ryan, how about you?
I'm just a strong believer that when you're given an opportunity to have a platform, that you take it if you feel like what you have to say matters and what everyone has to say matters. So to have the opportunity to come here and to be asked to come here, it's really special. And I was like, of course, it's something that I couldn't turn down.
Okay, so 4 of you will be graduating, is that right?
Yes.
Can I see a show of hands? Xander, that leaves us.
Yeah.
So, so I want to ask the 4 of you who are graduating, what are your plans next? And James, you can start.
I will be attending Daytona State for my Associate of Arts degree, and then I will most likely be transferring to UCF through the Direct Connect and get my bachelor's probably in business administration. And then I will probably be attempting to get into law school and become an attorney.
So is that the next 10 years of your life you just planned out? Maybe
It
five
is.
to
It is.
10?
It is, but I say that because it's all stepping stones.
Yeah.
You can't have one part without the other because it's so intertwined.
Yeah.
And I think that since swim scholarships didn't work out, I'll use my prepaid and stay at home to cut the costs and, try to get out as loan free as I can to work forward, not backwards.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, you said that, you guys make childish decisions. I don't think that is one of them. That's really great. Ryan, how about you?
I will be attending Florida State University, and I'll be majoring in motion picture arts. As long as my next 5-10 years, I'm not sure. I'm a big believer in life will take you where you need to go. So I'm just excited to be on the journey.
Okay, Brian.
I'm going to the University of Florida in the honors program. I'm pretty
Oh
sure
my
I'm
gosh,
pretty,
here it's
pretty
starting
sure I'm
already.
legally obligated to do that. As an electrical engineering major and maybe a minor in foreign languages, we'll see how that works out.
Oh, my.
And I hope to go on to graduate school and get my PhD and work in the renewable energy industry.
That's awesome.
Oh, wow.
Mhm.
Okay, that's great. And Cameron, how about you?
I'll be going to SSC for their interior design program on the Heathrow campus to minor in business and major in interior design.
All right. And Xander, you're sophomore this
Yes,
year,
I
but
still have
next
2 more years.
2 more years left, so you have plenty of time to think about what you want to do. But I just want to say that it has been a great privilege to talk to you all over this last year or so that we've been able to see you every few months and check in. And, you guys make my eyes water when you talk about what you want to do for the future generation. And it just makes me feel so much better about where our world is headed. And I know we can all have different opinions, but we can all come together and look at each other and discuss them and talk about them and walk away feeling better because of that and feel more together as opposed to divided.